Welcome, everyone, to the Best of Markham podcast, brought to you by me, Igor Klibanov from fitnesssolutionsplus.ca, your personal trainers for chronic conditions. Here with me today is Andrew Feldstein from Feldstein Family Law. Andrew, thank you so much for being here. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, first, my pleasure being here, and thank you for having me. I'm a family law lawyer. I've been doing it for 31 years. My firm, Feldstein Family Law Group, has 11 lawyers, and we all practice exclusively in the area of family law.
Got it. Okay. And how did you get into family law?
Well, I started my practice in 1994 during a recession. So, what that meant is I finished my articling. I didn't have a job, so I started my own practice. And originally, I did everything. And then as time went on, I focused in two areas, being family law and corporate commercial. And the one thing I didn't like was the feeling that I always sensed somebody may know more than me because they just did family law. And I felt it was much better to do just one thing where you could feel as if you know it as well as the next person or better. And
Right,
now
right.
I think it's better.
Okay. And why did you choose family law? Why not to one of the other many specialties of law?
It's something that I found fascinating because when you do family law, you represent all sorts of different people. Some are self-employed, some aren't. You get a interesting dynamic of learning about families. You get an interesting dynamic of clients who do different kinds of work, different kinds of businesses, and you have to learn about them in order to advance your client's claim because a lot of things are about common sense. And if you want to be able to advocate on behalf of a client, you have to understand what they do in order to persuade a court, for example, if the business isn't doing well, or if you're acting for their spouse, why their business is doing well when this other spouse says it's not.
Got it. Okay. No, that's a good reason. And what do you like most about being, well, not obviously not just a family lawyer, but you have your own law firm. So essentially you're an entrepreneur. So what do you like most about being an entrepreneur?
Well, it's interesting you say that because I really wouldn't know anything else. I articled at another firm and I've been operating my own practice for 31 years. I enjoy the aspects of everything stops with me in the sense that the buck stops with me. I got to make the decisions. If I make good decisions, I succeed and I prosper. If I make bad decisions, I pay the consequences of it. And I like that because there's responsibility in it. And quite frankly, there's also more freedom because you get to choose what you do.
Yeah, yeah. It's the same thing that appeals to me about being an entrepreneur because similar to you, it's pretty much the only thing I've ever done my entire adult life. Um, as a personal trainer. I mean, I worked while I was an undergrad. I worked for the Jewish Community Center on Bathurst and Shepherd and the Baby Golf and Country Club. And at 23, I started my own business, and that's all I've done ever since. And I'm 38 now. And I like it for the same reasons. It all depends on me whether I do well or I do poorly. It's either thanks to me or it's my fault. There's nobody else to blame.
And quite frankly, I think that's the best way to do it because then you can't sit there and have to worry that somebody else is bringing in the business or someone else is making your life easier or someone else doesn't like you anymore.
Yeah,
Uh, it's the kind of thing I've been doing. I started at 24, so pretty similar to you. And I'm very happy with that decision. I couldn't imagine doing it any other way.
yeah. I mean, it puts a lot of control in your hands because I mean, I hear a lot of people complaining about the economy, etc. But there's nothing I can do about the economy. But there is something I can do about my own personal economy, my own business. I can change the marketing strategy, which I did during COVID. We can change the sales approach, etc. Speaking of which, what do you do for marketing? How do you get new clients?
Well, there's multiple ways you get new clients. The best way is always referrals.
Yeah.
And you get referrals because you do good work for clients and they're happy. Sometimes the irony is your best referral sources aren't your former clients, but their former spouses.
Oh, wow.
And there's some former spouses that have sent me a lot of files and they tell people you better hire him before your spouse does.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's the best referral, quite frankly. So that's one area. The other way is marketing like anyone else does. And for that, the secret is you got to hire a good social media company because there are good ones and there are bad ones. And there are some that will say they're doing work for you and do absolutely nothing. And then there are others that will work. And it's hard to know who that is from who it isn't. But the best thing I can say to people is try and get referrals.
Yeah. And when you say social media, are you doing organic social media or paid ads on social media?
Well, we do organic, we do paid ads, and we do social media.
Got it. Okay. And so I guess those are your three big sources, organic, paid ads, and referrals. Now, are your clients coming equally split from all three buckets, or is there one that dominates the others?
It ranges. You can have one month one dominates, another month another one dominates. The only thing I can say is when you do a referral, they're more likely to hire than people who find you through paid ads or organic because those people are more likely to be searching and interviewing multiple firms.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's one of the biggest obstacles, especially in high ticket services, is simply trust. If they come by referral, they automatically trust you. If they come through social media, they don't trust you because they're like you said, they're interviewing a bunch of people. Um, Now, besides those three approaches, paid social media, organic social media, and referrals, have you tried other marketing approaches, or this is all you need?
Well, I've tried, but I would say they were dated. So if I say to you, well, I used to be on the spine of the yellow pages and had a double page ad, you're going to say, well, geez, that's dated. Who even has a yellow page now? And my kids don't even really know what the yellow pages are, other
Yeah.
than I have some old books lying around just for the sake of a memento. But so those kinds of things, I would say their life has expired. But you know, you got to do what you got to do to market, and part of it is changing things around in terms of if the phone isn't ringing, maybe you got the wrong social media company,
Yeah.
yeah, or you got the wrong intake team. And when your phone stops ringing, that's when you really got to be nervous. And I would say to anybody, monitor that closely. I know I monitor every day how many new consults are booked, how many retainers the firm has had, and that way I know what's going on and I get a sense of whether we're doing the right job or the wrong job.
Yeah, yeah. I always say that, for example, in medicine, their diagnostics are blood. You look at blood, you see cholesterol, blood sugar, a bunch of other stuff. There also need to be diagnostics in marketing, which is how many phone calls are coming in or how many inquiries are coming in. Of those, how many convert, how many actually become retainers, and so on. Because if you don't have these numbers, you don't know where is the funnel broken. So very, very important to have these. And yeah, I mean, you got to adapt with the times. Yeah, Yellow Pages used to be great, and now barely anybody uses them. Uh,
Well, nobody, I don't know anybody who has an ad in the yellow pages anymore.
Although
But,
there's
you
still a
know,
big, thick book. I mean, if I find so I volunteer for the Markham Small Business Center, so I actually get to speak to a lot of other business owners, landscaping, tennis lessons, retirement planning, and so on. For businesses that target mostly the 70 plus demographic, actually they're still using the Yellow Pages a lot. So it's not totally dead. It's still a big, thick book. So there's a time and a place for everything. Just depends where is your target market hanging out. And if yours is not on Yellow Pages, that's great. Stay away from that. But if yours is on Yellow Pages, get in there.
well,
Um,
in my business, when I had a spine and a double page ads, it went from basically generating 75%, say, of my business to
yeah,
5% with a huge outlay of expense. And one thing, even to circle back to when I said clients will want to interview more firms, I think the hardest thing from a client's perspective when they come to interview lawyers is they can't recognize what we're telling them, whether it's true or not. They
yeah,
may have done some research on the internet, and the best thing they can do is go with their gut feeling
yeah.
based on what they're hearing as to do we make sense or don't we make sense? Do we sound like we know what we're talking about or we don't know what we're talking about?
Exactly. They need to know more than you to evaluate what you're saying. And obviously they don't. They don't have a law degree.
Yeah.
But that's where in my case, my four big marketing strategies, in no particular order. One is public speaking, two is email marketing, three is writing and publishing books for not just to sell the books, but to get personal training clients, and four, believe it or not, door-to-door sales. And the reason I like all those methods is because nobody can compare my company to other personal training companies. When I'm appearing there at their door, I am the only personal trainer doing door-to-door sales. Other personal trainers, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, so it's easy. I mean, if they follow one personal trainer, probably follow 100. Um, how many personal trainers are going to door to door? Very few, if any. How many?
I've never had someone knock on my door.
No, exactly. How many personal trainers are publishing books or doing public speaking? Nobody. And if they are doing public speaking, you're the only, you have 100% of their attention. You are in the boardroom and they're looking at you. There's no other personal trainers there. So I like to be in a position where I can't be compared to my competitors. Um, and uh, and and that's why in my I mean for some businesses social media is a godsend. For other businesses, especially for my kinds of businesses, they are colossally a waste of time, which is why I'm really happy my competitors are doing it. uh, and what are you working on right now that's exciting to you?
Well, I have a number of cases. I can't really talk about them because they're
Of course.
confidential, so that part is a challenge. But we have some trials coming up, and there's some exciting technical issues. And I view partly the practice of law that fascinates me is the fact that you have to look at every case, you have to analyze it, you have to be strategic, you have to have a plan, and you hope all those things come together as the case moves its way through until there's a trial. And I have a few that are going to trial, and you really want to be able to manage them properly to get them there and hopefully succeed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's great. That's exciting to you after 31 years. And anything exciting to you on the business side of things, not necessarily with specific cases, but more on the business side of things.
Well, you always have to be reviewing things. And it's interesting that you say, is there anything exciting? In a way, I don't have any exciting new campaigns coming, but I
Yeah,
also look at that as a good thing because sometimes if you're having a new exciting campaign, it's because something bad has happened and you're trying to recapture it. Because when you have to change your marketing company,
yeah.
it's exciting to change the marketing company, but you're doing that because you weren't happy with the last company and now you're trying to kickstart things in a better way. So it may be exciting, but it's coming from a bad place.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean because listen, I've been in business for 15 years so far, and there's both. I it's nice to have predictability in your business, but predictability is both boring because you know it's coming, but it's also exciting because you know it's coming. You know that your bills are paid, you can maintain a certain lifestyle, etc. So I mean, door to door to me is not exciting because it's not new. I know it's going to work. Or buying advertisements in, for example, publications like Zoomer, I know it's going to work. So it's predictable. And I like that it's predictable. But there's always, I spend about 20% of my marketing budget testing new things. Um, Usually I have 3 to 5 experiments, marketing experiments running at any given time. 1 out of 25 is successful. 24 out of 25 I thought were going to work and didn't work.
Hey,
Uh,
we've all tried things. I've done the bus ads. I did some TV commercials. So there's things you try. They
yeah,
don't work. I've done seminars. I didn't find they worked.
yeah.
Uh, so there's lots of things that you can try. And I get the predictability part of it, and I find it fascinating. You say you do door to door because I've never heard of anyone personal training doing door to door.
Me
So
neither.
I say kudos. My son started a landscape business this past summer, and he was doing door to door, and he found that the hardest part of the job.
To me, it's one of the most pleasant parts of the job. Because and I'll give you an example. With social media, you have to compete with algorithms. When Facebook first started out, a large chunk of your contacts would see your posts. Now, on Facebook and Instagram, 1% of your contacts see your posts. On LinkedIn, it's even less. Um, Door to door, I've never had a night so bad that 1% of people open the door. At least 40-50% of people open their door, and a few and less than that agree to talk to me. But I wouldn't keep doing it for years and years if it wasn't profitable, and enjoyable. And in my mind, it's the most straightforward path to clients because in most of marketing, for example, social media or buying bus ads or TV ads, what we're going for is a direct conversation with a prospect, with a qualified prospect. Whereas when you're going door to door, the conversation happens as soon as they open the door, and you can qualify them right there. So it takes out a lot of. It's literally for my business, it's the easy button for marketing, and I don't like marketing the way other personal trainers market because I don't want to be as broke as most personal trainers. Um, Most of like all of my strategies came from outside of my field. Stuff that's commonplace in other fields is completely unheard of in personal training. For example, door to door. Trainers don't do it, but who does it? Landscapers, Jehovah's Witnesses, realtors, politicians, etc. Trainers don't do it. But then how do I get people to talk to me? That I got the idea from people who sell timeshares. You ever been approached by a
Of
salesperson?
course, everybody has.
Of course. And what's their approach? Listen, Andrew, come to this sales presentation. They're telling you that up front. This is a sales pitch. If you sit throughout the entire presentation, I'll give you a gift card for a dining experience, a gift shop, etc. Um, and they say you're not obligated to buy anything, but you are obligated to stay to the end. So you already know on the front end it's a sales pitch, and you're going with a close mind interest there to get the card. But enough people buy that it makes it worth their while. So how do I make people who I knock on their door when they're not expecting me to stay and talk to me? I tell them, listen, I'm not selling anything. I'm just taking a quick survey about people's exercise habits in this neighborhood. And if you stay and talk to me for 2 minutes, I'm going to give you a free Starbucks gift card. And I got that idea from that one. Not other personal trainers, but from timeshare salespeople. And it works great. Um, Public speaking. Personal trainers aren't doing that, but who does do that? Get rich in real estate. Okay. You ever heard of the company Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Heard of it, don't know much about it.
Back in 1993, the founder, Robert Kiyosaki, he is, I guess, a Japanese American entrepreneur who started a personal finance company titled Rich Dad Poor Dad. The story is he had two dads. Basically, there was his biological dad, who was his poor dad, and then he had a good friend of his, and his good friend's dad was his rich dad. So because he spent a lot of time with his friend, his friend's dad became his dad as well. So he had a rich dad and he had a poor dad, and he saw the differences in their mentalities. But anyways, fast forward to now. Nowadays he sells seminars about how to get rich in real estate. I go to those seminars not because I'm interested in real estate investing, more I'm interested in how do they sell from the stage. What do they say to their audience that gets the audience to go from free seminar to paid seminar? And I do that as well in my own presentations, but obviously about fitness and nutrition. So my best strategies came from completely outside of my field. And so that to me is very interesting to see what are other professionals in completely unrelated fields doing that maybe it's ordinary to them, but in my field could be an atomic bomb, you know? Um, so that is,
That's creative. I say kudos. That's a very creative way to look at it.
thank you, I appreciate it. And obviously you're a very, very busy guy. You're running a law firm with 11 people. So what do you do in your free time?
Well, that is sometimes it seems limited, but I like to, for example, in the winter, I like to ski. I like watching the Leafs. Uh, those are two of the most important things I do. I enjoy spending time with my family, going
Beautiful.
to sporting events with my son, things like that.
Awesome. Fun, fun, fun. And occasionally spending time in Florida.
Exactly.
Yeah, which Canadian doesn't like to do that when it's cold out? And since this is after all a Best of Markham podcast, what's your favorite business in Markham besides your own?
Well, I have a friend of mine who practices employment law, Minkin employment law lawyers, and they're very good. And they're probably my favorite other business in Markham. I would have said my brother's accounting firm, but he sold that earlier this year.
Ah, bummer. So it's not that anymore.
Even though the purchaser's a good guy and I like him,
But
I
not the
can't, I
favorite.
can't. Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. And last question, how can our viewers and listeners get in touch with you?
Well, the easiest way is to remember our website because it's a really easy website, separation.ca.
Yeah, very easy. Great
It-
domain too.
Thank you. So it describes exactly what we do, separation.ca.
Perfect. And that will be in the show notes as well. Andrew, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate this.
My pleasure. Take care and have a good day.
You too.